holy cow, is this going to be my norm from now on? I don't know. I could hardly move. I mean, it was so painful. How many people think about their toe joints? I mean, come on. My foot was first, then my knees, then my ankles, then my elbow. And my shoulders hurt so bad and I felt so achy. From there on is when my symptoms started to spiral. Hello friends, I'm Casey Slate, a video editor and educator. But in this video, I'm going to share with you my recent diagnosis, a little bit about what is rheumatoid arthritis, the symptoms that I had leading up to the diagnosis. I'm also going to share a little bit about what has happened to me in my everyday life and how it has changed and the hassles I went through with finding the right doctor. When you're dealing with a new diagnosis and you're interacting with doctors, family, and friends, it can be very difficult. So this next quote has definitely resonated with me recently. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel, by Maya Angelou. Rheumatoid arthritis, according to mayoclinic.org, is a chronic inflammatory disorder that can affect more than just your joints. It is an autoimmune disorder that occurs when the immune system mistakenly attacks your own body's tissues. Unlike the wear and tear damage of osteoarthritis, RA affects the lining of the joints, causing a painful swelling that can eventually result in bone erosion and joint deformity. Symptoms include tender, warm, swollen joints on both sides of the body, joint stiffness, fatigue, fever, and loss of appetite. One day, I just started having really weird symptoms in my feet. It was very strange. It kind of came on gradually. It would happen just in the morning when I would wake up. It would happen only in my left foot and in the heel only. So I went to Google and I was like, what is the common cause of heel pain? And it said plantar fasciitis. So we were just about to go on a family trip to Washington, D.C. And, you know, when you go to Washington, D.C., there's a lot of walking. We were going to go to all the Smithsonian museums. And so I'm like, oh no, what am I going to do with the plantar fasciitis? I'm going to be walking all over the place. It's going to be a lot. But unfortunately, while we were there, I fell on a concrete sidewalk and I fell directly onto my knees. And I even rolled on my back. So it must have been a sight to see. So I had an injury. And so from there on is when my symptoms started to spiral and started to really increase. At this point, I had never heard of rheumatoid arthritis. I didn't know what it was. And so now looking back, I can see how all the pieces kind of fit together. You hear this name of a diagnosis and you're like, arthritis. Well, isn't that what like an elderly person gets? Osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis are completely different. I don't have what you would consider arthritis. All the symptoms that started to really ramp up after that, I just blamed everything on my fall. I was like, well, I know my knees hurt because I fell. My left foot hurts because I have plantar fasciitis. Well, then guess what happened? My ankles started swelling. I was like, why have my ankles started swelling? I didn't think much about it. I'm like, well, maybe because I'm walking a lot. Also, while we were on our trip, my left elbow started to hurt. I was like, why did my elbow hurt? Because I didn't fall on my elbow, but now looking back, it wasn't. It was just that my immune system just started to go into super overdrive and started to attack everything. My foot was first, then my knees, then my ankles, then my elbow. After we had gotten home from our trip, it had been about a week since my fall. And when I would try to get up off the couch, I could hardly move. I mean, it was so painful. And my husband said, shouldn't you be getting better now? It's been a week. You look like you're getting worse. And I'm like, I know, I do kind of feel like I'm getting worse. I really didn't want to call my doctor because I'm like, I just fell. It's not a big deal. It's just bruising. It'll heal. Well, I finally called my doctor's office and my regular MD couldn't see me. So they got me in with a PA, which was a total blessing because she knew right away when she saw me what was going on. She just kind of had a hunch. So she went ahead and ordered all these blood tests. She gave me naproxen 500, which I didn't even know that I needed at the time. I had no idea what was going on, but I'm so glad she did because if I did not have that naproxen, I wouldn't have been able to go teach my class the next week. After I saw her, things started to even ramp up even more. So I started to have really bad aching pain in my shoulders. Not shoulders like up here, like shoulder, like right here where the joint is. How I can describe it, it feels like you have the flu and your body just aches. And it feels like it's burning from the inside out, but just in the joints. I also was running a low-grade fever like the whole time, and I didn't even realize it. This is what rheumatoid arthritis is, at least from my experience so far, is it feels like you're walking around with the flu all the time. Your body aches. You have a low-grade fever. You just don't feel good. Have no appetite. Nothing sounds good to eat. And then the actual symptom, instead of like having a sore throat or a cough or something, is the joints ache so bad. And at one point, my toes started hurting. And I mean, how many people think about their toe joints? I mean, come on. I've never like seriously thought about my toe joints, but lately they have hurt so bad that it's like, woo, I am completely aware that you exist. I had to wait about 10 days to see my regular MD because he was the one that was going to have to send the referral to a rheumatologist. And I have to tell you, the experience with my primary doctor was horrible. First of all, he didn't even examine my joints. Both of my knees had serious swelling in them, and he didn't even look. My wrists also were swollen. So the ironic thing is most of the time rheumatoid arthritis starts in the smaller joints first, like in the hands, and then it ends up in the larger ones like the knee. But for me, because I fell on them and had a legitimate injury, started in my larger ones, and then my hands were the last ones to engage. So it was almost like he was arguing with me, saying like, well, if it's not in your hands, then you don't have rheumatoid arthritis. But he didn't visibly look at my knees, so that wasn't cool. My SED rate was high in a blood test, but the PA didn't run my CRP, and he was looking at an old CRP blood test from like a year ago, and he said, but your CRP was normal. And I said, no, it wasn't checked. So he's like, all right, we'll run your CRP again, but I can't send a referral to a rheumatologist because they're very picky and they want to see very swollen red joints. Well, my joints are very swollen, but I wouldn't necessarily say they're red. But there's been an enormous amount of pain and an enormous amount of swelling that he wasn't willing to look at. So anyway, guess what? Within a couple of days, the CRP came back high. And at that point, I was so humiliated by my interaction with him and how he treated me in the office, how he wouldn't even examine me, how he wanted to argue with me and tell me that rheumatoid only starts in the hands. I was like, I'm never going back to this guy. So I found another primary doctor and was able to get in with them like a few weeks later. And the moment my new doctor, who is also a blessing, saw me, she was like, obviously you need to see a rheumatologist. But the rheumatologist here in my area is so full and so overwhelmed and so busy and apparently picky that they only want to see red joints. So I was like, I'm willing to go out of town. So I had to drive an hour and a half from my house to go to a rheumatologist that was available. And my rheumatologist that I saw, she also diagnosed me. And she said that because I had so much swelling in my larger joints, that it wasn't just mild, it was moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis. It was a relief to finally get validation. For me, that meant I'm going to get a treatment. I'm going to get treatment options and know what I can do to help fix this. Because if you let this go on, you can permanently damage your joints, which is not cool. So driving the hour and a half to my new doctor was totally worth it because she just seems very confident and caring, and that's exactly what you want in a doctor, right? It felt like it was gradual at first, but then once it really started to kick in, it felt like it just rapidly increased really fast, and I started to get all the symptoms at once. This is how it can differ day to day, which is so bizarre to me. I don't really understand how this happens. There was a Monday of one week where I felt normal. I mean, I don't think there's a moment where I don't feel a joint that's hurting, but it's not like super bad. It's probably like a 3 or a 4 on a scale to 10. I was perfectly fine on a Monday, maybe like pain level 2 or 3. And then the next day on a Tuesday, I woke up and my shoulders hurt so bad and I felt so achy. And then as the day progressed, it was just like every single joint in my body was hurting, just aching so bad, to where I was like moaning, it hurt so bad. I would say like if level 10 pain is I'm in labor, because I was in labor at one time. Like for me, pain level 10 of labor is like, I can't talk, like the pain is so bad. That Tuesday, it was like an 8. It was so bad, and it was all over the place. And I took an naproxen, it didn't help, which normally it did. It would help me take the edge off as far as like the body aches and the fever for me to be able to like go teach my class. But then that day I took the naproxen, it didn't do anything. I took Tylenol arthritis, it didn't do anything. It was horrendous. And I'm like, holy cow, is this going to be my norm from now on? I don't know. I have no idea. The next morning, I felt better, thank goodness, but I had an extra bulge of like inflammation coming out the left side of the right side of my left knee. I was like, okay, here we go again. Like it just was so weird. And I'm glad that I started doing some research about it ahead of time and knowing about things that I would possibly need, like a jar opener, because it's going to be hard to open jars. Like, for example, a cane, which I'm really glad I already had a cane because I needed to use that cane that Wednesday to take pressure off of my left knee because it hurt so bad that next day. And then by that Thursday and Friday, I mean, I can't ever say I'm normal. I'm not normal. I just mean like I'm able to function. I'm able to not have pain level 8. I'm able to go teach my class and it'd be okay. Like, no big deal. I can walk without a cane. That's great, right? But I also did some other investigative research about different things I would need. Like, for example, I got a larger size heated blanket, which heat really helps the pain. I also got heated booties or heated boots that are like a heating pad that go over your feet. I already had a heating pad that I use on my shoulders. Like I was being preemptive about what are the different things that I'm going to need to help me either feel better or just be able to live my life a little bit better. Because the swelling is so bad in my knees, it's so hard for me to walk downstairs. I can walk upstairs just fine, but going down hurts so bad that I have to go slow into the side. So whenever I can find an elevator, that's super helpful. I've also had to purchase a cane and use it occasionally when the swelling on my left side has gotten like significantly worse. I have swelling on both sides, but it's just that the pain sometimes is more intense on one particular joint than another. I also can't open bags very easily like I could, or open bottles. Like even twist my mascara tube is hard to do. Brushing my teeth, even just like cleaning the counter in my kitchen hurts my elbow. I mean, just basic things that you kind of take for granted throughout the day has been impacted by this. And I really, really love my heating pad and my heated boots and my heated blanket. Those really help the pain a lot. So I am at the beginning of this journey, so there is quite a bit that I do not know about at this point. I just was recently diagnosed like a month ago, and I'm just now figuring out about what my treatment options are. The thing that concerns me the most about this is that if, for example, with this particular disease, if you get enough bone damage or joint damage, it is permanent. It is not reversible. So that part of it kind of freaks me out. I don't want to have permanent joint damage. I have watched some other diagnosis story videos, and it really helps when you can hear someone else's journey, especially when you are up against a doctor who doesn't want to listen, who doesn't even want to examine you, who thinks they've already run all the tests, who thinks that a rheumatologist is so picky and they want to see my joints red. I mean, come on. I have so much swelling on my left knee. I have 3 puffs on the front, a Baker cyst coming out the back, and now a bulge coming out the right side. So it's like, how much more swelling do you want to see before you send me to a rheumatologist? I just wanted to tell my story because I want you to know that if you're dealing with this, if you have symptoms that you think, you know what, if this is on both sides of your body, if both your wrists are involved, both your elbows involved, both your knees, both your hands, it's probably rheumatoid. With rheumatoid arthritis, it's literally almost every single joint. Except I don't think it's supposed to get like on these little joints here, but it can be like here and here and here and here, everywhere. Just know that you're not alone, and I would love to hear about your story, about treatment options that you've tried, any suggestions. I would love to hear it. I know this is going to be a long video, and if you're here at the end, I really appreciate it. Leave a comment below and let me know about your journey, about your symptoms, your experience with doctors. Just love to hear from you. So thanks for watching, friends. Bye.